Hey everybody, it's mom of two, wife of one. I wanted to come and do a video because I was recently looking through some stuff in my house and I came across these papers that say Dear Mama at the top, as you can see here. So these papers came actually from my baby shower when I had my first baby, who in March turned 12 years old. So I've held on to these for 12 years. And my best friend, one of the things she asked at the baby shower was for everyone to come in and give me motherly advice. He's my first child. I had no idea what I was doing. I was not one of those girls that ever grew up babysitting other people's kids. I never held a baby before my son, and I really had no idea what I was doing. Fortunately, I have a lot of mom friends in my life now, but back then, when I first had him, none of my friends, well, I say the best, none of my friends, a couple of my close friends were pregnant at the same time. And for whatever reason, we didn't lean on each other as much as we should have. We kind of all did our own thing and made our own mistakes, and then came together when we got a little older to figure out what the heck we're doing. But I thought it'd be fun to share some of the advice that I got 12 years ago and to see if that advice is still valid and really look at the advice from a different pair of eyes, having been a mother now for over a decade. So here we go. First piece of advice says, remember to always be patient and constantly remind yourself that this is a learning process for you and the baby. Patience is so key when you are a mother. And I tell people this all the time, that they don't, when you leave the hospital, they do not tell you that. They tell you how to swaddle your child. They tell you how to properly position the child to breastfeed. They show you obviously how to change a diaper, what to do when the umbilical cord comes off, all the kind of stuff for when they're an infant. But as they get older, and now they have their own opinions and they're able to walk and talk and then become more independent, the way you mother them at 3 months old is not the same you'll mother them when they are 1 year old or 5 years old, or like my son now who's 12 years old. I can't mother him the same way I did even a year ago because things have changed. And I have to be patient with those changes, and he has to be patient with me. So the whole idea of remembering to always be patient is so incredibly key. If you know that patience is something you are not good at and you want to be a parent, being a parent tests you in so many ways, and being patient is so incredibly critical and crucial to being a successful parent. And not saying that you won't fall short, because we all do. None of us are robots and none of us are God. We're all going to make mistakes because that's just the way of the world. But this piece of advice is just so key no matter what stage of motherhood you're in. The next piece of advice says, sometimes after the birth, your hormones are out of control. Be mindful, it's natural. Look at your baby and say, this too shall pass. Always, always thank God for your baby. Thought that was a pretty key piece of advice as well, because this person was right. And that's one thing I do like about the advice. No one put their name, so it's just a bunch of different handwritings. So I don't know who gave me the advice, but I know that everyone who came to the baby shower are women who love me. So whoever it was, there's some woman who's in my life who loves me. But yeah, when you have a child, your hormones are all over the place, and that's how people end up having, what is it called? After pregnancy, not PTSD, postpartum depression. There we go. Had a brain blank. Please forgive me. But that's how people kind of wind up with that. And even if you don't have traditional postpartum depression, you are feeling so many different things. You're overwhelmed, you're scared, you're excited, you're nervous, you may be angry if you're not getting help, you may feel a loss of a sense of self. It's a lot of stuff that goes on. It helps to be very open and honest with what you're feeling, whether it's with your partner, with your parents, with whoever around you is close to you. Do not be afraid to say, hey, I am experiencing this. I don't know what to do, or I need some time to myself. Can you please watch my baby for me? In the very beginning stages, when people normally have children, it is so hard for new mothers to ask for help. And I think it's because we believe that, okay, God equipped me to be this parent. I've been carrying the child around for 9 months. Obviously, I'm going to have all the tools I need to be the best mother I can be to this child. And when things start going wrong, you start to doubt yourself and you start to feel bad, and you definitely start to kind of look down like, oh my gosh, like maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not this, maybe I'm not that. And you feel so guilty for these thoughts that you have, that you are not willing to expose those thoughts to other people. You're not willing to go to someone and say, hey, I need your help. But I'm here to say, it took me having 2 kids before I was able to actually ask people for assistance, but it is so necessary. We are not meant to do this by ourselves. So whatever you are feeling after, and keep in mind, it's not just necessarily after giving birth. If you had a surrogate, if you adopted, there's still so many different emotions that come into play. Sometimes you are going to need that time to yourself. So I strongly encourage anybody who's experiencing a bunch of ups and downs to just take that time sometimes. Quiet room, candles going, soft music, meditate, listen to your heart, listen to your head, figure out what's happening with you. The next piece of advice says, take lots of drugs and childbirth will be a beautiful experience. Seriously though, always put God first and everything will be just fine. I'm not going to speak about drugs and childbirth. Whatever you want to do is up to you, and that's my piece of advice that no one put on here. There's no one way to be a mother. There's no one way to give birth. So whatever works for you, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever your doctor and your partner is comfortable with, then that's all that matters. Some people frown on drugs, some people frown on C-sections, some people frown on home births, water births, whatever. It's whatever is up to you and whatever works for you. That is what's key, and that's what's important. Because at the end of the day, all those people will have an opinion on how you choose to bring the child into this world. None of them are going to be there when it's time to raise the child. So their opinion really doesn't matter. Just keep that in mind. Next says, I'm so excited for you. Remember that anyone can have a child, but not everyone can be a mother. You have a chance to raise a revolutionary son. He will have all of his strengths and weaknesses. Protect and provide for him, and he will look after you when you grow old. And yeah, I don't remember who wrote that, but it's such a sweet thing, right? I like that. I like the whole idea of anyone can have a child, but not everyone can be a mother. I've said this to people before as well, and I use it as my argument for women who decide not to become mothers. I'm very sensitive to women who choose not to be mothers, who are bashed by other people. I get really protective of them, even though I'm not know them necessarily, but I get very protective of them. I feel like every woman needs to make that choice for herself. And I think it's so incredibly selfish and harmful if you are a woman and you have a child just because you feel that's what you're supposed to do. Society is dictating you that that's what you're supposed to do once you reach a certain age, but you know in your heart you don't want this for yourself, but you bring this child into this world and now you're not giving it the love that it needs, or you're blaming them for ruining your life, or they're being neglected, they're being abused, they're being mistreated. Now you are raising, or quote unquote raising, this child is going to grow up feeling unloved and feeling unwanted, and now all of that poison that you've put in their spirit since they were born, now they're spreading that poison to other people when they get older. And that's irresponsible. It's just not fair. So I do agree that anybody can have a child, not everybody can be a mother. If you know you don't want to be a mother, don't be a mother. Who cares what all these other people got to say? Because again, the same people who are telling you to do this are not giving you a dime of money to take care of no daggone kids. So forget them. Sorry, I got in my soapbox for a minute because that really makes me mad when I hear people talk about that. You are a wonderful girl, and your seed will also be wonderful. Always remember, he's going to do what he sees you do. So stay positive through the negative. Ooh, this is so incredibly crucial. Your children are mini yous. At some point, they do grow up and they have their own personality and their own way of doing things. But in the beginning, they are definitely monitoring everything that you do. And you're not going to be a perfect person. And I feel like that's one of the lessons I had to learn. That knowing my son and my daughter now look at everything I do and they hear the things I say. That doesn't mean I have to go out of my way to be perfect, but it does mean that when I fall short, I have to own up to my mistakes. They need to see me apologizing. They need to see me changing my behavior. They need to hear me apologize to them when I'm unfair to them. And that was a huge lesson that I had to learn, because I've never been really good at saying I'm sorry to somebody. And I feel like the first people I started genuinely apologizing to, were my husband and my babies. Because I wanted them to understand the importance of that yes, mommy did something wrong, even though mommy is the mommy, I'm the grown-up. That doesn't mean mommy's perfect. Mom's gonna do some things that are wrong. So because I did something unfair to you, or I said something to you with a tone of voice that wasn't very nice, mommy is very sorry for doing this. Will you accept my apology? I want to make sure they understand the power of genuinely saying you're sorry, and then the power of genuinely changing your behavior so that you're not repeating those same offenses. And I think that all parents kind of need to learn that, right? Because your kids are watching what you do, and they're not just watching the good things, they are watching the bad things, and they're watching your actions and your reactions and how you talk to other people, how you talk to your own parents, for instance, because they're going to be like, oh, well, that's how mommy talks to grandma or grandpa. I guess when I get older, that's how I'm going to talk to her as well. All of that stuff, they are soaking in everything. And it's not just when they're younger. My son, again, he's 12, he's almost a teenager. He's still looking at the stuff that I do. He's still observing how I handle him when he does things that are wrong. So the idea of your child looking at you to kind of have an idea of what to do and what to say as they get older, that doesn't stop just because your child gets older. I still look at my parents and look at some of the stuff they do and kind of take mental notes like, okay, when I get that age, I may not necessarily do that. Or, I think I'm going to do those things. That's something that just doesn't stop. So you have to be very aware of that. Raising a child does not end when they become 18. You are always raising your child. But again, it shifts as they get older. The way you mother, the way you parent, the way you discipline, the way you guide, the way you speak to them, all of that changes with these different phases of life for your child. Because just like your child has different phases in their life of being a baby, being a toddler, being a kid, preteen, teen, adult, all of that, our mothering has phases as well. And we have to learn to adjust and adapt to them and to what their new needs are. Be very attentive to the baby. Oh, be very attentive. The baby will soon be a young adult, and you need to listen. And always remember, he will do things at times that you won't understand, but love him always. Have patience and pick and choose your battles as he gets big. Now that I'm going through right now, my son is a preteen, and there are some things that he does that I just don't understand. He's very, very smart academically, but sometimes he lacks, what's the word? It's not self-control, but sometimes he's not good at problem solving at times, and he's not good, I think, sometimes at having common sense, really looking at a situation and figuring out, okay, this isn't working, what can I do to fix this problem? I feel like sometimes if it's not working, he's just like, oh my gosh, mommy, this isn't working. But it's like, that's the easy thing you could have fixed, and why didn't you fix that? And I need you to start thinking about decisions that you make, and thinking about things that you say, and thinking about how can I solve this on my own before I go to mommy and daddy. And so we're still working through that, and I am trying to be patient. For instance, a couple days ago, he wasn't in class all day because he couldn't turn on my computer. His Chromebook that he got from school was dead, wasn't charging, and I gave him my computer, and he's like, mommy, I can't turn it on, it's not turning on. And I'm like, I know the computer's fine. I used the computer the night before. I know nothing's wrong with that. And I came home, turned on the computer, and it turned on right away. He kept saying it wasn't turning on. He wasn't pressing the button, though. He was pressing, like, the mouse area, which is at the bottom of the keyboard, as opposed to the button at the top, which turns it on and off. And my first inclination would be like, I told you it's the button on the right. Why would you do the one in the middle? Why would you think that's the on and off button? It's big, and it doesn't look like an on-off button. Like, what? But I was like, no. Let me be patient. So I was like, sweetheart, let me show you how to do this. I was like, I want you to see this because you're going to use my computer the rest of the school year. So here, let me show you how to do this. See this button? Okay, you press this button. Now you try it. Okay, you did it. And I feel like the old me, especially if this has been somebody else's child, I wouldn't have yelled necessarily, but I wouldn't have had any patience whatsoever. And I was like, no, I have to breathe. I have to understand that things that come easy to me may not come easy to him because I have 39 years of experience with some stuff. He only has 12. So I am trying to be more patient. There are times when the patience is not there. And when it's not there, I do apologize to him. And I do say, look, sweetie, I'm sorry. Let me explain why mama reacted the way she did. So I'm trying, but it's definitely it's a long road because we haven't even gotten to the teen years. We haven't gotten to everything that comes along with being a teenager with your hormones and your dating and all that other stuff. I don't even want to get into that because my mind's not ready to, it's not ready. I'm not even going to talk about that. Next set of advice. Remember how blessed you are to be a mom, but don't forget that you are also human. Try not to be disappointed in yourself for any mistakes you make. There's so much to learn, and it's hard to learn it all. So take each day one at a time, and your instincts will guide you. Trusting yourself will be his greatest gift because you'll love him as much as you possibly can when you're at your best in trusting yourself. So this means basically, again, to be honest with yourself, to forgive yourself when you fall short. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. No such thing as a perfect child. So you are going to make mistakes. That just comes with the territory. There's absolutely no way that you're not going to make a mistake. You're going to second guess everything that you say and do to your child, because that's just what we do. And I think that's a sign of a good parent. If you don't second guess the things you do, just kind of go with the flow and you just assume you're doing right. Not saying you're a bad parent, you're just an average parent. I think a good parent is always thinking of ways that they can be better, always thinking of ways that they can teach more, that they can be a better influence, that they can be better, offer better guidance or whatever. If you're constantly thinking about how to improve and all these different layers of motherhood or parenthood, then that means you're a good parent. But again, it's all about also understanding that you're not perfect and you are going to make mistakes. And it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to learn from them. Your child's going to learn from them. And again, what they're looking to see, they're not looking to see if mommy and daddy are perfect. They're looking to see, okay, when my mom is disappointed, how does she act? When she's mad at my daddy, how does she talk to him? When she's mad at herself, what does she do? When she's sad, does she go to anybody or does she close the door and cry to herself? They're looking to see that stuff, because at this age, they may not necessarily know how to handle some of the different emotions that are bubbling up. So if you're exhibiting these emotions freely around them, then they're going to understand, okay, I may not necessarily want to go in my room and cry like mommy does, but let me see what I can do to make myself feel better. Let me see if I feel better if I write in my journal, or if I watch TV, or if I sing a song to myself. Let me figure out ways to soothe myself. But I think the only way they'll even know that there are multiple ways is, again, if you talk to them about what you're personally going through. And that doesn't mean you got to tell all your business to your kids. I feel like there are some things that children are supposed to know. But when I'm upset and I'm crying, I don't hide that from my babies. And I don't necessarily run to their room to prove that I'm crying. But if I'm in a mood where I'm really crying, but they still need me, I got to push through. So I may, be cooking dinner, maybe chopping something up, and tears be down my face, and they'd say, what's wrong? I'm like, well, mommy's really sad. And I told them why I'm sad. Again, may not go into detail, but I don't hide my emotions from my babies. I want them to clearly see that mommy is not a robot. I'm human just like you. So sometimes I cry, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes somebody upset me, and I don't know how to deal with it. And that's okay too. Always have open communication with you and your son so that he feels he can express himself with you. Love him, nurture him, and discipline him. The open communication is so critical for me, because I grew up in a time where, kids were seen and not heard. Our feelings weren't necessarily validated by our parents. I know personally, I will talk just for myself, my feelings weren't validated by my parents. I didn't grow up thinking I had the right to tell them I was sad or to tell them whatever. I remember one time feeling left out or lonely or something, and I expressed that to my mother, and she said, well, the world doesn't revolve around you. And obviously she kind of regrets making that statement now, but at the time I think she was just busy, and I think I was going to her expecting her to stop whatever she was doing and do something with me to entertain me, and that was her reaction. And again, may not have been the best reaction in the world, but it stayed with me long enough that I still remember it very clearly. And I may not say those particular words to my babies, but that doesn't mean I don't feel that sentiment sometimes. But I always want my babies to be comfortable talking to me. I'm a communicator. I am, my hashtag is always words in my business. So I'm very good at public speaking, at talking, at writing, at blogging, all these things that involve words. So I want the house that I'm in to foster communication. I always encourage my son, especially my daughter too, but my son especially, I always encourage him to tell me, like, exactly how are you feeling? What are you thinking about? What do you think this person is thinking about? Well, let's talk about this and let's talk about this. And I ask him all the time, like, how are you? Like, really, how are you doing? How are you doing in your classes? Well, how do you feel about this? Well, what about this? I try to do that, but I feel like, again, our generation, they just didn't do that, and that's because the generation before them didn't do that. But I want to have a different environment for my children. Now, I want them to communicate with me, but I also want it to be in a respectful way. You're not about to curse me out. You're not about to yell at me. Namely because A, there's disrespectful AF, and we ain't going for that. But also B, you've never heard mommy curse anybody out. You've never heard me curse. You also don't ever hear me yelling at anybody. I might raise my voice occasionally at my child, but you've never heard me like yell at you. I don't yell at you. I don't yell at your daddy. You don't hear me do that, because I know I don't like anybody raising their voice at me like they're crazy. So because I don't like it, I try not to do that to other people. Yes, you're 12 and yes, you're 7, but if I don't start showing you respect now, you're not going to understand the meaning of showing others respect when you get older. So I try to exhibit respect to everybody that I talk to so that they understand, oh, we need to respect everybody. But it's also a matter of getting what you give. I'm giving you respect, so I'm expecting respect in return, but that doesn't mean you can't talk to me about things. You can be honest with what you feel and still be respectful to your parents. It's just a matter of saying, Mommy, I don't feel good. Mommy, I feel sad. And with my son, again, going through puberty, it hasn't really hit him that hard yet, but I know there are moments where he just doesn't want to be bothered, doesn't want to play with his sister, may not want to talk to me. And I told him, like, when you have those moments, just come to me and say, Mommy, I need a moment. I just need a moment to myself for a little bit. I'm feeling a lot of things. I don't really know everything I'm feeling, but I just need a moment. And I gave him full permission to just come and tell me that, and then go to your room, close the door, and take all the time that you need. Because you are going through a lot of different emotions, and though I experienced puberty, I've never experienced puberty as a black male living in 2021. I don't know what that's like. I don't know all the things in your mind. I'm not going to pretend to know those things. So all I can do is give you the space to feel whatever you feel, and then be here and open to receiving you when you're ready to come and talk to me. Okay, 2 pieces of advice, guys. We're almost done. Be happy, enjoy him, and wing it with a loving heart. The whole wing it thing is key because there is no manual. There are some manuals out there. I take that back. Some psychiatrists and psychologists, I'm sure, have written manuals on being a parent in different phases. But we talked about this before. No parents are alike. No children are alike. Even if you have twins, though I don't have them, unfortunately, but those who have had multiple births, if you have twins or triplets, you know, yes, they all share the same birthday. They may all have the exact same face, but you know that all of them have completely different personalities. You know that. And because of that, you have to mother them differently. You have to foster different relationships with them. That's how it is with even the multiple children, the 2 children that I have. They need to be talked to differently. And there is no guidebook for that. I have to just figure out what my babies need individually and figure out a way to provide those needs. That's all I can do. And the last piece of advice, enjoy being a mother. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's a new journey, and you and the baby will be learning together. That is so very true. One of the things that freaked me out a little bit about being a mom is that I was worried. I'm definitely a worrier. I was always concerned that if I didn't do everything perfect in his first year of life, if I didn't make sure he had the right amount of fruits and vegetables, if I didn't make sure that he was socialized with other kids, if I didn't make sure he learned how to walk at the right time and talk at the right time, if I didn't make sure he, just got all the love from me and traveled and all this other stuff. If I didn't do everything I was supposed to do in that first year, the first 12 months of his life, then somehow that was going to turn him into this awful human being at the age of 25. Like, I had it in my head that everything I do in those first 12 months are going to dictate the kind of human he's going to be. So if I mess this up, I've basically set out this person in the world who is unfeeling and who is mean and who is a womanizer and who can't hold the job. Like, I had all those thoughts in my head when I should have just been happy and enjoyed my child. That's the biggest piece of advice I would give anybody who's pregnant right now. Don't focus so much on being the perfect parent. Enjoy your child. Enjoy your child. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Sleep whenever you can. And understand that the resources that you have at your fingertips now, I'm sure, are more than the resources people had 10, 20 years ago. Utilize everything at your fingertips. If people are saying they want to help, let them help. If you find a story time at the library near you and you can just get out of your house for a couple hours or 30 minutes or whatever, take that opportunity and go. Expose your child to as many things as you can. There are so many free and low-cost programs for kids that are out there, whether it's virtual or not. Take advantage of all of it. But don't be hard on yourself when you fall short. Don't be hard on yourself when you find yourself in a puddle of tears for no reason. You're human, and you are filled with a lot of hormones, and there's a lot of emotions that come on with being a parent. I was just talking to one of my brothers the other day. He's a single father, and I told him being a parent sucks. It's constantly changing. You're constantly second guessing yourself. You're constantly wondering what I did wrong. You're constantly not angry at your children, but frustrated sometimes with your children. It's this never-ending roller coaster of emotions, and it sucks sometimes. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I do love my babies, and I know that being a mother is one of the many reasons why I'm here on this earth. But, you know, I do enjoy it, but that doesn't mean that sometimes it sucks. And it's okay to admit that sometimes. It's okay to admit that sometimes you may not like your kids. Be honest with that and don't feel bad if you have those thoughts, because you are not the only one. Sometimes I don't like mine. They're cool right now because they're not in the room with me. They're all right. But, you know, sometimes you have those feelings. So I just wanted to share some of those tips of being a mom with you guys. I know some people are pregnant or they may already have multiple children, but I just thought it'd be fun to kind of go down memory lane and revisit some of the advice that people gave me 12 years ago when I was pregnant with my first baby. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to click the notification bell so you don't miss any other videos. I've done recaps on shows. I've done an interview with my husband, interview with my mom, and I just talk about whatever's on my heart when it comes to being a mom and being a wife. But I hope you guys are good. I love you guys. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Peace.